Hello, KX from KX Jewelry here. Today we're going to try something different. I'm going to comment throughout this video. Here we go. So I saw this design on Etsy where it's kind of a marquee shaped cabochon. A cabochon has a rounded top, but I didn't have any marquee shaped stones, so I thought, well, I'll make one and I'll just cut the stone myself. And then I'm thinking, well, I could do earrings also that match it. So I wanted to show the lapidary. So lapidary is the cutting and polishing of stones. So that's a piece of agate that I have, and it's actually too big for my rock saw. It's not really a rock saw, it's a tile saw because I'm cheap. And I started lapidary about 4 years ago, I guess. And I didn't watch any videos. I just kind of figured everything out on my own. I got a tile saw that I use to cut my rocks, and I got some sanding discs that I would polish them down with. And so I started that about 4 years ago, just on my weekends off my day job. And then I started silversmithing about 18 months ago, so about a year and a half ago, because I had all these stones and I didn't have anything to do with them. So I just cut a slab or a slice of that rock. My saw is not big enough to cut straight through, so I kind of got to go around and around. I actually don't like to talk during my videos. I'd rather just watch. Pretty much I started the YouTube channel because I'm vain. I wanted to show off everything that I've been doing. It's really a lot of work to do any of this stuff, and I kind of just want to share with people like how much work really goes into something. So here I am drawing out the shape of what I want, and then I'm going to use the trim saw and trim it down just a little bit. I should have just used my tile saw. It would have went a lot faster. I know sometimes you don't like to, it's hard to make videos on YouTube. You gotta, it's a lot, and setting up the camera, and it's a lot of just repetition and watching something, and I try to speed it up so you don't have to get so bored. But anyways, now I heat up the rock and some dop wax, and it'll harden onto the stone when it cools down. So that gives me a little stick to hold on to it while I grind down the edges. So those are my polishing discs. They're for polishing granite countertops, but I found that they work good for me. You won't see this probably on any other lapidary channels or anything like that, but that's kind of just how I started. So, by the way, the music comes from Postmodern Jukebox here on YouTube. I would suggest that you check out their channel. I'll put a link in it in the description. Also, that song there was one recommended by my good buddy EZ. That he's also my coworker, so I really enjoyed that one. Here I am using a flat lap. So I got the rough shape, and now the flat lap, I'm just taking it all the way down to the line that I drew to get the exact shape. And I want the sides to be perpendicular so they go straight up and down. And now I'm going to mark out how high I want the girdle. So I'm making a little mark on them, and then from that mark up, we will make it rounded. So I'm using the flat lap again to kind of just start the rounding process. And once again, it's very time consuming. This agate is really, really hard. It kind of looks like amber. I guess it's the color amber, but it doesn't feel anything at all like amber. Amber's real soft. But this agate is really hard to cut, really hard to polish. But because it's so hard, it'll keep a really nice polish on it. Here's my different sanding discs that I'm going to use. 200 all the way up to 10,000 grit. And I use water to kind of keep the dust down because there's dust flying everywhere. So it's just a process. I could have used the flat lap here, but I don't get a rounded, I don't know, I guess I'm not very good at using a flat lap. I keep getting little flat edges. But with these things, they're a little bit softer, and so I can kind of round it off a little better. Here I am making the backs flat. I don't have a dop stick on there, and you got to worry about these things. Are so slippery once you polish them. It can, the sanding disc will catch it and fling it across the room, and you'll probably end up with a broken stone if you're not careful. So now I'm cutting the bezel, which is going to wrap around the outside edge of the cabochon. And I want the bezel to be just a little bit higher than where it starts to curve in on the stone. That way I can fold that metal down to keep the cabochon from falling out. So there's no glue or anything like that. Once again, this is kind of boring just watching me cut pieces of silver. So I'm going to form the silver bezel around the edge to the rough shape of what I'm looking for. I need to trim it to the right length. I use that floss back there to kind of give me an estimate of how long I need to make this wire. Pretty much the stone was from scratch, obviously, and the silver's done in sheets and wires. I buy it prefabricated already. But everything else is pretty much from scratch. I mean, silver's in sheets and wires, and the stone obviously was a raw stone. I'm soldering the bezels together. Now I'm forming them back around the stone to make sure that I get the exact shape that I want. And we're going to do all 3 stones here. Kind of boring, I know. And now I'm going to pop out the stones, being careful not to misshapen the wire that goes around it. And I'm putting them in this drum. They were polished up quite nicely at 10,000 grit, but I'm going to use chromium oxide in my tumbler, and I ended up tumbling it for a week. So I just put some water in there, chromium oxide, and then that tumbling media is just ceramic to help move all the stuff around. And bad shots of my ugly garage. I throw it on my tumbler, and it'll just spin round and around for about a week. That'll get an extra nice polish on it. So it's a flat sheet here, and I'm just hallmarking the silver, so it'll be the back of the earrings and the pendant. So here I am soldering the bezel wire to the back plate, and the camera really can't catch it good, and plus I don't always show you all my mistakes and stuff like that. You want to heat it up from the bottom to get the bottom hot, otherwise the solder will just jump up onto the wire because it's so much smaller density and mass. Silver is like the highest, has the highest reflection, but also conducts the highest amount of heat. So now I'm cutting out the insides. It's kind of a boring thing to watch me do all 3. So later in the video, I just cut it down to working on 1, and obviously I repeat it 3 times with just the different sizes for the earrings. So I cut out the inside, and then we're going to trim down the outside. I just take some scissors to get close, and you'll see here in a minute. Then I use just a rotary tool to sand down the back plate all the way even with the bezel. That way it kind of looks like it comes out of it, you know. Excuse me. There I am doing that. And it takes like a long time to do all of this stuff. So I'm just showing you a few steps, speeding it up. Cutting the rock, I think, was sped up like 30 times. This might be like 18 times or something like that. So here I am cutting a wire, and I'm going to use this for the bail on top. I really like that design I saw on Etsy. They had a bail on top and then some wires that went into the bail and around on the bezel, and that's basically the design I kind of copied. Pretty much as far as the silversmithing goes, I'm completely self-taught once again, but I just on that I watched a lot of instructional videos on how to do silversmithing. I also like watching a lot of videos where, you know, I mostly like to just play music in my videos because who wants to hear me talk? But the ones I enjoy are just some music and somebody's doing all the silver work. I don't need them to explain it to me. It's like reading a book. Like, I'd rather just look at the pictures, right? So now I'm making this wired. I make a loop on the top. I soldered it together. And now I'm going to fit it through that bezel that I attached. So it's here once again, it's just a lot of bending wires, getting it to form the way that I want, you know, and getting it in the right spot. I'm not very good at wire work. I wish I was better. So now I'm going to attach it here at the top, so it's stuck there. And then after I do that, then I'll bend those other wires down and around and attach them to the bezel on the bottom. So here I am doing that. I'm using binding wire to kind of hold it against the bezel. That other little piece you see there is just a spacer because I didn't want the solder to jump up. I don't really know what to use as binding wire. Basically, I just take twist ties and I melt off the plastic or whatever. They seem to work okay. So now I'm cutting. I wanted the wires to look like they're coming out of the bezel. So I'm kind of cutting it at an angle. Here I am sanding it down to make it nice and smooth. All kinds of rotary tools. The rotary tool is the best thing to use. I was amazed when I finally got one. I was using a Dremel tool, and for the jewelers they use a pendant motor. It's so much better. So there I made 3 of them. Kind of just showing you the back. I got the little hallmarks on there. So now I'm going to take the stones out of the tumbler. They've been tumbling for a week now. And show you what that looks like. It didn't get that much better, but any scratches left behind I might have kept in there. Didn't polish them very well. So it'll just make it a little bit nicer. Plus it gave me time to do the silver work, so I'm just rinsing it off. That's what they look like. They're super slick because they're so smooth and they're oddly shaped. It's hard to hold on to them. So now I'm going to pop them into the back. There you go. And now I'm going to use my bezel roller. It's just a little roller piece of metal that pushes it down and up around the top where it starts to curve down. And I could have just stopped there, but I also like to use this tool. It hammers it down. You got to be careful not to hit the stone. You might crack the stone that way, but it'll really get it close to the stone. So because I hammered it down, now I got to polish out all the little hammer marks. So that's what I'm doing here. Wearing my mask so I don't breathe in all the silver dust and whatnot. I don't know if those discs will harm this stone because the stone's so hard, but I'm careful anyways. And now I'm just polishing everything up. And then you'll see some pictures at the end. I want to thank everybody for watching. Like I said, I just want to show off what I'm doing. Just attaching the little ear wires here, and then I'll put a chain through the main pendant. And then you'll see some pictures. Please like and subscribe, because apparently on YouTube that's how you get more views, is if you get a lot of likes. So please hit that like button. Thanks for putting up with my voice this whole time. I surely do appreciate it. Oh, you can also check out the Instagram. My wife takes beautiful pictures of all the stuff on Instagram. And of course I have a Etsy store, but I only got a few items up there. Mostly it's just to showcase like what I'm doing. So there you go. Please comment as well. Send me an email. I love talking about what I'm doing, how I did it, that kind of thing. So once again, thank you very much. Bye-bye.